people that I still speak to in Spain. They're very good friends, and they're like, "Oh, it's so in Germany. People are not open. People are, cold and, just like stereotypical." And it's not true. Like, whatever. But they basically just asked me for the paperwork of the car, for the license, whatever, and they just took me out of my car, handcuffed me at the back, and put me in the back of a police car for like an hour. And they were just like searching my car for what? I'm not exactly sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching my video and coming to my channel tonight. We have a very special person who came to share his personal experience. This person came from Romania and also has lived in two different countries already. Without any further ado, Sergio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kaya. I'm nervous here.
Yeah,
But
man,
yeah,
come
thank
on,
you
it's
for the
okay.
introduction and thank you for having me. It's actually quite fun to be here, and I'd be more than happy to share my experiences that I had so far, and the way I see things, the aspects that moving from one country to another had taught me across the years. So yeah, my name is Sergio. I originally come from Romania. I'm actually not Romanian in a way. I don't have any Romanian blood because my dad is actually Italian and my mom is German. But yeah, long story. I was born in Romania, and as Caio mentioned, I changed two different countries other than my home one. Three actually, I could consider. So yeah, going from Romania to Spain, then having some projects in the UK where I had to live there for prolonged periods of time, like 6 months to 7 months, something like that, and then I finally moved to Germany, where I am today, and I'm very happy here.
So, Sergio, you were born and raised in Romania, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay. So, how old were you when you actually left Romania for the first time to immigrate? Not to travel around, because I'm sure that you travel a lot, but when you actually made the decision to just leave your country, how old were you exactly?
So, when I left my country, I was actually in my right before my 2nd year of my master degree, so I must have been, what, 23 years old. I was 23 when I left, yeah.
Okay, so you were 23 years old back then. You were in school. Were you actually working as well in parallel, or was it just school back then?
No, I was working. Actually, I worked through university, and then when I went to master, obviously I continued working, and I actually left with an how do you call it, the Erasmus? Is that the way to pronounce it?
Erasmus.
Erasmus? Yeah, that's the one.
I
Yeah,
Yeah,
with like a
I guess
scholarship.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what exactly drives a 23-year-old Romanian person who's in school, who has a job, to take the risk to live in another country? What exactly was the motivation back then that drove you towards living abroad?
Yeah, I think motivation is actually a key word, and this motivation actually came from the days that I was a kid. From a multicultural family. My dad being Italian, my mom German. I was exposed to traveling to these countries when I was a kid to visit family or just to go with my dad because he worked in logistics. He had a company, so he had to travel around quite a lot, and I was very privileged to come to these countries as a kid. And just like see the caliber of people that live in other countries. Not to say that in my country there's no high quality people, but when you're a kid, you're impressionable. And when you see things that are better than they are in your country, you just they leave a mark on you. And also, just like growing up watching American movies, English movies, not to mention the pop culture, all of the music videos, all that we used to see in magazines. Do you remember those? Like it was actually on a piece of paper, not on Instagram. So, that made a very big impression to me. And it was like a very looking back. It was maybe a very childish motivation, because you look at these things, these cultures, the things that these people have and how they live their lives, and oh, they're clever and sophisticated and whatnot. You just kind of like want to become the same at some point. You want to be one of them. So I guess I carried that image throughout my life as a kid and as a teenager and ultimately as an adult. And yeah, that was kind
So
of the
it was
motivation, I would say.
so it was a little bit of your ambition and also the picture perfect idea of how life abroad was.
Yeah, that was definitely the case. I never consider myself to be a financial immigrant. I was working in Romania when I was still in university and in the first year in my master degree, I was doing okay. I had everything I needed. I had prospects to evolve in my country to, ultimately get a good job, be a manager, be a director, or even have my own business at some point. And yeah, it wasn't all about the money. It was just about the lifestyle. It's about the things that these experiences could like lead me to or make me, who I became in the end. So yeah, it was curiosity. I think it's the best word to use here. Just curiosity and maybe a feeling of like, okay, let's go to this adventure. Let's see how it takes where it takes us.
Do you think that every Romanian kid, in a way, wants to have that experience?
I think as a kid we do. Because we always like if you think back on your experiences, and I could definitely speak for myself now, but even when you're like a kid and when you're in school, you're trying to like emulate, people that are famous, successful, whether that's, with clothes or the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you whatever, like you're trying to emulate that. So by default, I think you're aspiring to one day be that person or be like that person in a way, you know what I mean? Like not to replicate them fully, but aspiring to do these things. So yeah, maybe in a way we did aspire to do these kind of things.
Okay, so you were 23 back then, and you
Mhm.
decide to have to take this risk of living somewhere else, different country, different life. Um, Aside from having this different experience, what else was a trigger that made you select the country that you did? And by the way, which you haven't yet said, what was the country that you decided to immigrate to, the first one? And what was the trigger that made you choose that particular country?
Okay, I'm gonna excuse my language from now. It was love, which is what makes the world go round, I guess. I wasn't mature enough, I can admit to that. I had 2 offers on the table when I left. Just for the people that don't know me, which is everybody in your audience, you're the only one knowing me here.
Mhm.
I'm utterly in love with cars, the automotive industry, that's my main hobby and my passion even to this day. So, coming back to the 2 options that I had on the table, one of them was in the UK, which is one of my favorite countries of all time. And it was an internship for a producer of like wheels and racing components, which to me that was like the best thing ever. Even to this day, I'm thinking like, how can I go back and get that internship? Even though I'm 31 years old, I would still go back. So that was the option that I should have taken, and I'm blaming myself maybe even to this day that I haven't taken it. And the other one was to go to Madrid to work in logistics, which is a field that I didn't study in ultimately. But, the foundation of that decision was that because my girlfriend at the time had moved there a year prior to me going, so I was like, "Well, I gotta follow my heart," which I don't.
So then you're you turned down a very interesting and potential high level business opportunity because you wanted to go to Spain with your girlfriend.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
basically,
Okay.
yeah, in a nutshell, yeah.
Okay. Don't feel ashamed. We all been there. I'm just
Oh,
kidding. I
I'm
haven't, but
it's just
I'm
a
just
walk
kidding.
down the memory lane is just
Yeah.
making my heart ache a bit now.
It's it's just to make you feel better. I haven't been in that position, but how long did it take you to basically do all of the preparations for this new part of your life, like to go abroad and to actually go live in Spain?
Yeah.
How exactly, what kind of preparations were necessary due to the fact that you're European? You didn't have to worry about any visa procedures or
No, not
anything like
whatsoever.
that.
Nah.
So this
From
was
that point of
already
view, it was easy.
out of the way. But what else did you have to prepare for? Did you have to actually save up a specific amount of money or to work on the rental after before you even left your country? How exactly did you prepare to land in Spain?
Well, I think it depends, how you look at this question, because if we obviously think about it now when we're like over 30 years old. So right now, like you and I are more mature and we are considering all of these things, like how much savings should have I had, What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna live? Like what's my emergency fund? All of these things. When you're like 22, 23, you don't think of that. So my savings was around, I'm guessing 3,000 euros in total, you know? And coming back to the preparation, well, the most important thing for me, even back then, was to just go there and knowing that I have a job that's going to pay me whatever it's going to pay me doesn't matter, but to at least have an income and to have daily activity in form of a job. So that was the biggest preparation that was a non-negotiable for me before I moved countries. So from that point of view, I was like, okay, I take that box, that's fine. I have a job, and the rest of it was just like the fuel for like continuing. It was like motivation of like making something out of myself. Financially, I didn't have a lot. It was like 3,000 euros. Half of it was spent on the road to get there because I drove to Spain in my car, which is 3,500 kilometers from
I
my
thought you were
city to
going to say
Madrid.
that half of it was spent on booze. And I'm like, that's
Well, retrospectively, it could have been a good idea, but no. I was very fortunate actually in the first, I think it was 5 or 6 months. Because it wasn't just my girlfriend that was living there. Her parents were actually in Madrid, already. They've been living there for the past 15 years. So I didn't have to pay rent for the first 5, 6 months. We used to live together with them until we would make enough money to rent an apartment. So
so you
I was
did
very
have some
lucky, I have to say.
strategy after all,
Of
because
course.
you're arriving in a new country
I was
uh
sneaky.
with not a lot of money, but again, you're living rent free. So this means that
Yeah.
uh
It was
the
for a
amount
determined period of time, to be fair.
well, fair enough. But so you arrive in Spain, to which city exactly?
It was in Madrid.
Okay,
I moved
Madrid.
directly to Madrid. Yeah.
Very nice city, actually.
It
Uh,
is awesome.
so you you land in Madrid. What was your first job? What exactly were you doing when you arrived there?
I was actually an intern, like the very first 6 months, I was an intern in logistics, meaning that I had to do all of the follow-up for every single order, for every single carrier. Like my job was basically this, right? Picking up the phone, hey, is the truck gonna arrive in time? Tick. Is it gonna deliver in time? Tick. Okay, job done. So I had to do that. Like it was the most repetitive work that I've ever done in my life. And I had like, I don't know, hundreds of orders to do that with. So that was my very first job, actually.
Okay, and what was the salary average that you saw in Spain? Would you, because a lot of people who are watching us right now are thinking that maybe Spain, Portugal, France, and these people maybe don't have a clue about salaries, don't have an understanding about what exactly is the average. So how much were you making back then as an intern for that job? Do you remember the salary?
I do. I was making exactly 1,000 euros.
Netto
Erasmus was paying.
or
No, it was
gross?
like it was netto actually, but it was like half and half because half of it was coming from the Erasmus from the university, and then my employer was paying me the other half. So it was, yeah, 1,000 euros exactly.
So you're making 1,000 euros, and I'm guessing that rent was either half or a little bit more than half of that salary, right?
So as I mentioned, the first 5 or 6 months we didn't pay rent, either myself or my girlfriend at the time. But after that, we actually managed to get an apartment of our own, and the rent was 750 euros, but it was an hour and a half away from Madrid. So yeah, 350 each.
Okay, so time goes on, and I'm guessing that you were also job hopping and you went somewhere else.
I stayed in
Did
the
you
same
move?
company actually
Oh, you grew into the same company then.
up until last year.
Okay, very nice. So, what was the? Let me rephrase that. What exactly would you say it's necessary as a salary base for a person to even consider Madrid as their home?
It all depends on age, doesn't it? can I answer the question with the mindset of a 30-year-old?
Yeah, of course.
To have a good, high quality life, and I'm not talking about like owning your own house or having 3 cars or things like that. Just like having, the average high quality life. You're an average person, you afford to pay rent, you afford to drive a car, go on holidays twice a year, like that kind of level. I would say at least 2,500 to 3,000 or even more. If you want to if you want to rent your own apartment in Madrid, that's going to be at least 1,000 euros in a good area. So yeah, I would say at least 3,000 euros as a 20
3,000.
something year old, 30-year-old guy
But
or
single
girl.
or
Single.
married?
No, 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 single.
Single.
I'm talking about single, yeah. Like one
Okay.
income.
Okay. What are the struggles that you think that a person will face upon arriving in Spain? And how was the treatment that people gave you there in terms of like the discrimination for the fact that you were foreign, for the fact that you were Romanian? Did you feel like people were somehow treating you differently? And what kind of like struggles do you think a person, or not do you think that you experience in the beginning that you can also advise other people to look out for, to be aware of?
So when it comes to discrimination or racism, I didn't have any experiences whatsoever apart from one, but that was like a very exceptional situation. Apart from that, people were like super friendly. They try to integrate you, even though the Spanish are not the best when it comes to English. I'll say that openly. They were still making an effort. They were still trying to talk to you. They were trying to find out more about you. It was a very warm environment since the moment that I set foot in Spain. I cannot complain about that. People were amazing, to be honest.
That's very nice. And any hardships or anything that you could consider a struggle that it can be related to anything that you can just warn other people, or you don't have anything to mention?
Don't don't behave as if you're living in the same country you're coming from. That's the one thing I can say. Um, and the reason for saying that is because, okay, it doesn't matter what country you're coming from, right? Um, every country has its own bad immigrants, that they're like tarnishing the image of an entire country. It only takes a few people. So if you're just gonna like live the same way and surround yourself with the same people that are in your own home country, and your life doesn't change apart from the fact that you're just like physically living in a different country, I just think that, yeah, you're not gonna have a good time because you're not learning anything new. You're not integrating in the culture, you're not learning the language, you're not enriching your experience as a human being. So I would say just avoid spending all of your time with the people from your own country. And the reason why I'm saying that every country has its bad immigrants is because the one time that I was actually discriminated, it was actually by the police in the center of Madrid. So I was driving the car that I had, which I'll put my hand up and say I was at fault because it still had the Romanian number plates on, and then you should change them. I'm not condoning that. So it was my fault. But basically, the police stopped me in the center of Madrid on Saturday night at around 11 o'clock at night, something like that. And it was simply because of the plates, right? And without any like, I heard that this is like a very extraordinary experience, like whatever. But they basically just asked me for the paperwork of the car, for the license, whatever, and they just took me out of my car, handcuffed me at the back, and put me in the back of a police car for like an hour. And they were just like searching my car for what? I'm not exactly sure. And when they let me go, I had a conversation with them and I was like, why did you stop me? Like, why did I have to be handcuffed and put in the back of a car? Like, I didn't do anything wrong? And he was like, yeah, but there's a lot of Romanians that like, carry or again or whatever the case may be. And I was like, yep, I'm not one of them. Like, why didn't you ask me before where I work, where I live? What's my social status? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, just don't discriminate me up front just because of my nationality. And that's what I'm saying. Try to evolve, man. Just like try to be like one of them. I'm not saying forget where you're from or your culture or your habits or traditions, but if you live in Spain, try to kind of integrate, which might mean learn the language, become a bit more sophisticated based on where you're from or whatever. Just like try to integrate. Integrate. That's all I'm trying to say.
Man, it's very unfortunate that you had to go through that. I mean, some people don't really understand how much that can affect one, and it's a good thing that you have a strong mind and that you didn't, yourself down. You didn't let yourself be somehow affected by that, because maybe another person would have gone through a different path. So not everybody is like okay with like getting handcuffs on and going through that. They can take that very personally, and that the fact that you speak so well about Spain and that you say that you had a great experience, that and everybody treated you very well, and you can say you can tell that story, that one time story about the bad part of it. It really shows like character, and shows that you can actually look at the bright side of things and not the only bad experience that you had. So congrats on that.
I appreciate the kind words, Caio. And to be share with you, I had conversations with like Spanish people, asking me. Or, I mean, I was actually asking them like, "What's your genuine opinion of like, Romanians, or how do you, what's your experience with them?" And you know, they were always like, "Yeah, they're very friendly, hardworking, and whatever." But then everybody was like, "Yeah, but in the early 2000s, they did a lot of shit here. They did a lot of bad things that I don't want to talk about right now." And then once I heard that, and I knew that before, like nobody had to tell me that. I knew it. And then I was like, okay, but I understand that policemen. What if they just got a call and they were like, okay, we're looking for a Romanian, and maybe my description matched the description of the guy they were looking for and whatever. And I can only understand that. And they even apologized afterwards. They're like, we're sorry, but whatever. It's just like we're dealing with a lot of Romanians here that they steal, they like pickpockets and whatever. And I was like, okay, fine, I get it, but talk to me before. I'm not one of them. And just the only thing that I can say is just like ask me a question before. And yeah, I can only speak highly of that country. It's been an amazing experience. I loved it to bits. I'm trying to go every year, even now, to see some of my best friends that I made there. And yeah, amazing country, amazing experience.
Yeah, man, that's good to hear. So going back to the years that you were there. So how long did you stay in Spain for exactly? You said
So in Spain, I stayed there for around 4 years.
4 years. So out of 4 years, only one bad experience. Overall, very great country based on your words, right? The treatment everybody was giving you, the experience was very positive. Why did you feel motivated to again immigrate? What was the trigger? What was the motivation that made you take that second risk? Because taking one risk to Spain was already ambitious. Now you want to take a second risk. Why was that?
Well, it was just I find Madrid at least to be an amazing city when you're young. You go to a lot of parties, you meet a lot of girls and make a lot of friends and whatever, which is amazing. But at some point you're like, I want to live in a nice apartment. I want to drive a nice car. I want to have some savings. And Spain for me was very difficult to kind of evolve from a financial point of view. And also, I mean, that's one aspect of it because I wanted more from life when it comes to my finances, which I think, yeah, I would be a hypocrite to say the other way around, to say otherwise. And yeah, my personality is not really Spanish. I like the quietness of Germany. I like the rules. I like the fact that everything is organized, that everything is clean. So yeah, after 4 years Spain, I was like, well, you know what? I gotta become an adult and I gotta be a grown up and I really gotta, you know, work for the things that I want. And I
So
found
the
Germany
this
to be a better environment for that.
so the decision was mostly driven by the economy and also the money aspect. What about the quality of life that you had in Spain? Did it somehow affect your decision? Because I'm guessing that I've been to Madrid for personal traveling, not to live exactly, but uh, I felt that the quality of life over there could be very high. Like the city is very nice. It has a lot of options, a lot of restaurants. How exactly did the quality life drop by choosing another country, especially in the northern region of Europe?
Well, to be honest with you, man, it depends on how you're like, you know? Like if you're a person that's very outgoing, that every single day you gotta be surrounded by people that always laugh and sing and dance, and whatever happens, they're happy. Amazing, right? I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that outgoing. Even though I am outgoing at work and whatever, but I like quietness. I like peace, you know. And in Madrid, I didn't have that, you know. Of course, I have the mountains in the north, and of course, you can find a quiet place. And I'm not saying the entirety of Madrid is just one big party. I'm not saying that, but for me, it was more of a question like, you know, I want to like have two or three very good friends, and I'm not into meeting all that many new people, you know. And I found like okay, if I go to Germany, I can have a good salary, but then I can live my life on my terms, which means a bit more quiet, you know. Germany is also amazingly positioned because you can travel to France, you know, the UK, Netherlands, Belgium very easily. So that was playing a big part. I prefer having money to travel than to have no money in Madrid and to go and drink beer every single day. So in a nutshell, that was
Okay,
kind of
fair enough.
the factor that made me take this decision. Yeah.
So if from Romania to Spain, you said that the preparation or the money aspect didn't really have to be any high because I mean you're already having the possibility to live rent free for a few months, and so you didn't bring a lot of money. How much did that change when you actually made the decision to move to Germany? Was it different this time? How much more, or how much do you think a person needs to consider when moving from a country such as Spain to Germany, for example?
Okay, so to start with, you know, the change from Romania to Spain, in terms of money, yes, it was an upgrade, but it wasn't the biggest upgrade. From Spain to Germany, out of this world, to be honest with you. Like you cannot even compare the two, you know? It's like, okay, I cannot talk about how much I'm making now, but I can just say the fact that when I
But
left
hold on,
Spain,
hold on.
yeah,
We're not talking about we're not talking about the daily costs yet. We're only talking about you're in Spain,
salary.
living your life happily ever
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you say, "Well, you know what, dude? Let me move to Germany." How much does a person need to just make that move in terms of like the rental cost that he's going to have to upfront and all
Gotcha.
of the money that he's going to have to bring
Gotcha.
from the start without even
Okay.
considering like the regular living?
Right. I thought you were talking about salaries. Okay, got it. So I had to have, and actually I moved within the same company, you know. I moved from for the same I was still working for the same company, but I moved from Madrid to Cologne. So they actually gave me, you know, a relocation package. So that relocation package, considering, you know, the cost of flying of or driving from Spain to Madrid, then to pay for at least a month, I would say, for like an Airbnb, because it's very difficult to find an apartment in Germany like just like that. Then like food and, you know, having a coffee once in a while, you know, in the city center or whatever, I got something like 6,000 euros, six or 7,000 euros.
So you're suggesting for a person who doesn't have a relocation package, because not everybody has one, would be what, minimum 5K, 6K?
Minimum 5K, I would say. I mean, consider this. Um, when you move to Germany and let's say you already have a job, you just gotta find an apartment. So 1 month you gotta stay in like an Airbnb or a hotel that's gonna be at least 1,000 euros a month, right? So and let me just write this down because then I'm gonna mess up the maths. So 1,000 euros just to stay in a hotel, right? Then let's just say you find an apartment and you gotta normally pay like 3 months in advance, or and then like the month that you're moving. So that's another, I would say, at least 3,000 euros, right? Then you have like the monthly costs, like food and stuff like that. So I would add another 600 on top of that. plus the one thing that I should have started with, the road to go from Spain to Germany, which in my case was like, I would say 1,000 euros because I drove. So I would say 5,600, I would say minimum. Five and a half, 6,000, something like that.
Okay. And we're talking single here, right? Not
And we're
like
talking
couples,
single, yeah, yeah.
families. Yeah. Okay. So, you get that relocation package. You move to Cologne. And how exactly was the adaptation in Germany? Because I'm guessing that from a cultural and also social standpoint, things are very different. We're talking
Yeah,
about happy people living in a sunny country. Now all of a
yeah.
sudden you're like in the middle of a rain, fog, whatever, and these people can be sometimes not the most welcoming ones. So how exactly did you see the first interactions with the German people?
So it was difficult, because obviously I was born and raised in Romania, so we are a Latin, a Latin country. So people even in my country are like, outgoing and friendly and are trying to invite you to stuff. So it was kind of like in Spain, but in a more Balkan way. And then you go to Germany and it's like the total opposite of that. People are angry, people are not that friendly, they're not that curious about you. It's like, okay, come to work. Why do I need to know about your life? I'm not saying everybody's the same in Germany, but that was I'm just talking about the initial impression that I had. I was like, geez, everybody's unfriendly here, everybody's angry, everybody's, you don't invite me to have a coffee, to have a beer after work. So from a social point of view and human interaction point of view, it was yeah, different, let's say.
Okay. How long do you think it took you to really get adapted to the new version of your life? How many months would you say that it takes for a person to say, now I can say for sure that I feel like I know what I'm doing and I know where I am.
That's a really good question. I would say it took me at least like 2, 3 years,
2, 3 years. Wow.
2, 3 years to be like, okay, I kind of understand the culture, I understand the society, I know what I can do, I know what I cannot do. It's it took me a long time. It took me a long time to learn how to approach people and, make friends here and all the rest of it. It's a long process in Germany.
It is. And it's good that we talk about this because a lot of the people who are watching us and are living overseas or even in countries where they are not really living the life that they hoped or wished for. They will look at people living in Germany, in Europe, I mean, like in the US or Canada, whatever. They're going to say, "Oh, life is perfect. Everything's gonna go perfect. Everybody's gonna make a lot of money." It's really not like that always, right? So people have their
Right.
struggles, they have the challenges that they face, and it's good that people have an understanding that aside from the normal expected struggles, they're also going to have to adapt. They're going to have to fit in. They're going to have to
Learn a new
make that
language.
transit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're wrapping up, Sergio, getting to the final question. So, um, if you could look back to the old you, what exactly would you tell yourself to do differently in all of these years as an immigrant? Because now that you have the experience from Spain and you have from Germany, I'm guessing that it might not be your last country, so maybe you're going to land somewhere else too. What exactly do you give as a piece of advice to people that they can do differently or pay attention to? Just a general advice.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I hope this is gonna be my last country because I'm quite happy here. But yeah, as a serious piece of advice, the one thing that I have learned is that life is where you make it. There's a lot of people that I still speak to in Spain. They're very good friends, and they're like, "Oh, it's so shitty in Germany. People are not open. People are, cold, and just like stereotypical bullshit." And it's not true. You know, if you look at these two countries side by side, Germany and Spain, and as you said it in the beginning, Kyle, you look at Madrid, and it's like, oh, the quality of life there is so much better. Well, it depends. If you're making the right friends, if you're having the right job, if you're making the right money, if you're doing the right activities, if you're, pouring energy, money, and passion into your hobbies, then you can have an amazing life anywhere, to be fair. So my advice would be no matter where you go in this world, it's like try to create your own little universe where you can be happy. Try to surround yourself with high quality people because there are a lot of high quality Germans, such as there are a lot of high quality Spanish or British or whatever. And yeah, just try to be happy where you are. Try to find a silver lining. And just in case everything else fails, like your own country is always going to be there. It's not like you cannot go back, you know? And a lot of people are looking at the immigration process or moving abroad like, oh my God, I cannot, I'm like in jail. Like I can never go back. And it's just not the case. You know, whatever happens, you can always go back. And in the meantime, just try to have fun and make the most out of where, the place where you are.
That's very well put. So
A bit
thank you
long,
for
but
sharing
thank you.
this. No, definitely. Thank you for sharing this. Would you consider moving back to Romania?
Honestly, yeah, I could see the benefits. It all depends on the period where you are in life and what you want. Because sometimes now that I'm getting a bit older, I'm starting to miss my family more and more. I'm starting to miss my friends more and more, and I'm starting to look at that part of life with a higher importance than I do with career, or at least, it's kind of starting to balance a bit. I would, I would at some points, in my perfect universe, I would have enough money to just like buy a house in Romania and, as I mentioned, create my own little universe there. Um, but yeah, all things considered, maybe not right now. And if Romania would give me the opportunities that Germany has in the next 10 years or 15 years, I, yeah, I cannot say for sure, but a part of me would like to go back. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Nowadays, how much do you think a person needs to have to live well in Romania?
To live well. You mean like paying a mortgage, paying the monthly payments
Well
for a
enough,
car
and
and
well
everything?
enough to make you drop your life in Germany to make you go back.
Okay, that's actually a very good point, that the way you asked me. I would say if I could make between 3 and 4,000 euros in Romania every month
Netto.
consistently and netto, exactly. Yeah. Imagine it like this, like with 4K in Romania, you live like with 8K in Germany. The quality of life is kind of like that.
Okay. I'm guessing it's not so far away from Portugal, at least from a living standard point of view. But yeah, well, we're coming to the end of the show, Sergio. Basically, yeah, I think
Hoping
that
for a
this was
part two.
just yeah. No, it was a very nice opportunity to learn a little bit more and also to share with the people. As you know, the main idea of my channel is really to bring this knowledge to people because you can go to university, you can buy all of the books that you want. There's nothing like sharing real experiences, like people who
Yeah,
have lived, who have gone through the struggles, who have hustled, who have, paid the price. These people, they're just like this book of knowledge, this book of experience that can be shared with other people. And I'm sure that the people watching us today are just getting a little bit, maybe one, two, 3 pages of your book, but it might help them. It might be enough for them to maybe be inspired, maybe to feel confident about taking the same risks as you have had, as you have taken actually. Sorry.
exactly. Yeah,
So yeah, thank you for dedicating your time, man, to come here to talk to the people of my channel.
I appreciate it.
And
I am very happy to be
I'm
here.
I'm looking forward to part two. So
Me too.
maybe
Just one
I'll
thing before I go, if I may.
yeah,
Living abroad, this is like the last part that I could say. Living abroad, it's, giving you layers in your life that you never thought you would have as a person. It's gonna make you think of things that you never thought you would. Once again, I don't want to go into details, but it's just gonna, make you a better person. It's gonna, brighten your future. He's gonna open more doors for you. Even by like, even if you think the smallest example, even if you live in Spain or any other country for like a year and you learn the language, that's a new asset that you're gonna have. So I would say, yeah, I'm definitely pro doing this thing, and I think it's amazing. And yeah, it's an adventure. It's an adventure. And after all of the struggles and the hustles and all the rest of it, yeah, the rewards are there. So yeah, I do recommend it.
I would say that on part two, we speak a little bit more about Romania. I think that there is a lot that people don't know and they should know because I don't mean to give any spoilers, but the way that the Western societies are building themselves and are developing, they're actually going downhill in a way, right? So
Yeah,
it means that more and more Eastern countries, and I'm not just talking about Europe, I'm talking about the whole world. They have a tendency to be selected more often for immigration than Western countries, as it was in the past. So this means that more and more people are immigrating to Asian countries, to Eastern countries. So
yeah.
I think that we can learn a lot from Romania, especially from a Romanian person. So why don't we put this as a goal for the next conversation? We can learn more about the tradition, about the culture, about the people, about how the mentality is, about how the life is, about the struggles, about the difficulties. So let's leave it at this right now. But I would like to do a second conversation with you about Romania specifically.
Part two coming soon.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and also give it a like. Sergio, thank you again for coming, for giving us and dedicating your time to my channel. And
Thank you
looking
for
forward
having
to
me.
speaking to you soon. Okay.
Likewise, Kyle. Thank you for having me. It was awesome. Thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.